So maybe you've paper tuned or bare shaft tuned or both, and your broadheads still aren't flying with your field points. Maybe your broadheads group well over here and your field points group well over here. Well, if your broadheads are grouping well, even if they're not with your field points, there's an incredibly easy fix for that, and you've already conquered most of the battle. So I'm going to explain to you guys what walk back tuning is, if you need to do it, how to do it, and how it can help you, and it could be that last step that you need to get your bow absolutely dialed with fixed blade broadheads. So I got a comment on one of my videos the other week saying that paper tuning is only a starting point. Now, I agree and I disagree with this. I disagree with this in the sense that if you have spine matched your arrows and you have set up your bow properly and then you paper tune and you're also using quality components is a big thing. You don't want to be using Chinese broadheads. There's a very good chance you'll just never be able to get them to fly. But if you've done all these things, paper tuning is very likely, and in my experience, going to be the last step. There's probably been under 10 times that I've had to walk back tune, because if you do everything right, in most circumstances, paper tuning is going to be your golden ticket. It's going to be your last step to getting perfect broadhead flight with your field points. Or bare shaft tuning. Bare shaft tuning works too. But if you are in a position where you're shooting groups with your field points and groups with your broadheads, but they're not together, or you've paper tuned and bare shaft tuned and you're still just not hitting together, you're so close to being done. There are certain bows that this will be required. There are models that just don't have the tunability to make even all those steps I mentioned earlier to make a fixed blade broadhead fly with a field point, regardless of what you do. So walk back tuning is going to be the next step. So basically with walk back tuning, remember this happens after you've paper tuned, after you've spine matched, after you've done everything else you can. This is a last resort, because what we're going to be doing here is moving our arrow rest, something that I am very against doing. Once I set my arrow rest in center shot, I paper tune using my yokes, or I'll shim the cams. I don't want to move my arrow rest out of center shot, but walk back tuning is going to do exactly that. And it's a last resort, but it does work really well if you have to get to this point. So what you're going to do is go out to your target and put a piece of cardboard over it, is what I like to do, because it covers up all the spots. And then at the very top of the target, I usually use duct tape. I use pink duct tape because a square pink duct tape is a really good size target for me to shoot at, especially at long range, and you can see it really clearly. And then what I'll do is I'll take a strip of a different type of tape, like I usually use a black tape or a masking tape, something that will allow you to see your target spot very clearly. It won't distract you. And you're going to put that tape straight down all the way to the bottom of your target. You're going to start at 20 yards and you're going to shoot field points. Always aiming at that top spot with your 20-yard pin, no matter what range you're at. You're going to take one shot and make them really good, clean shots. If you know you flinch, just disregard it. And you'll see quickly why I like to use a fresh sheet of cardboard. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go back to 30 and do the same thing, but you're going to still shoot your top pin, your 20-yard pin at that same dot. And of course, your arrow is going to fall a few inches below it. Then you're going to go back to 40 and 50 and 60. And what you're going to end up with, and at this point we're doing all field points, is you're going to end up with a line of arrows, and it'll roughly replicate your pin gaps on your sight. So what you're looking for is hopefully all of your arrows fall perfectly in line with that piece of tape that you put from the top of the target to the bottom of the target. What you're probably going to see at this point is some slight veering left or veering right. And if you're seeing that, what that means is you need to move your arrow rest towards the center. So if your arrow line is falling slightly right of that tape line, you're going to move your arrow rest just a hair left. If your arrow line is falling left of that line, you're going to move it just a hair right. And when I say a hair, I mean like a 64th of an inch. You have to be really careful when you move your arrow rest not to overdo it, because a small adjustment goes a very long way with this. If you do this and your field points are perfect, but your broadheads still aren't grouping with your field points, now I want you to go back and do the exact same thing, but with broadheads. So you're going to do the same thing, 20, 30, 40, 50. I usually do it up to 60. Beyond that, you're not going to get any new news. And the reason I like to use that fresh sheet of cardboard is because you can still see exactly where your field points hit. So you can track exactly where at 20 yards my field point hits here, my broadhead hits here at 30, and they're probably going to space out more. And it's the same thing. So even if your field points are dead in line, you're going to move your arrow rest whichever way would bring that line now that your broadhead's made towards the center. So if your broadheads are left of that center line we made, you're going to move your arrow rest a touch to the right, and even a smaller increment than if your field points are off. because remember, everything is magnified with fixed blade broadheads. They magnify errors in your setup and in your form. So once you do that, that will fix your problems. And if it doesn't, then there is something in your setup before all of this and all the other stuff we talk about that went wrong, and you need to take a step back and reassess it. But for a lot of you out there who are having troubles getting your fixed blades and your field points to group together, even though you've done everything, this will be the final step for you. And I bet for 9 out of 10 of you, this will solve your problems. Now, if you notice consistently when you're shooting that your broadheads are just left of your field points, you don't even have to do this whole walk back tuning process. You can just make that adjustment, arrow rest right if your broadheads are grouping left, or if your broadheads are grouping right and high of your field points, then you'd move your arrow rest a touch low and a touch left. You don't actually have to go through this whole walk back tuning process if you can already clearly see where your broadheads group in relation to your field points. But if it's a little sporadic or you're not sure or not confident, this walk back tuning with a fresh sheet of cardboard is a really cool way to see very clearly exactly where everything is hitting and what your bow is doing, so you can make the adjustments there. I like it because I'm a visual guy, so it really helps me visualize everything. If you guys have made it this far in the video, I want to offer you a 10% discount. Everything on our store is 10% off with the code YouTube10. I appreciate you guys watching.